All right, I think we are up and going. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a little roundtable about our upcoming joint production with Theater Nova for. I think we are up and going. Do you hear me in the background? That's good. We are up and at 'em. So yes, our joint production of William Finn's A New Brain. So I want to go ahead and welcome everyone that's here with us today. Once I call on you, just tell us a little about who you are, what your involvement is with this production. And if you're out there listening, if you want to pop some questions in our chat, you are more than welcome to. We will be happy to answer anything and everything. All right, so Vince, hello. Tell us a little bit about you and how are you involved in A New Brain?
Hi, my name is Vince Kelly. I am involved in New Brain, this particular production, as the director, and I also am playing Roger, and obviously a few other things that I was involved in those within those two things, but those are my two favorite parts.
Awesome. Diane, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, hello. I'm Diane Hill. I'm one of the producing artistic directors at Theater Nova. So for this production, I was the money lady, but I also played Richard's mom, Richard, who will play Gordon. So I'm stealing your thunder there, Richard. And I played his mom. And I'm just going to tell something about Vince too, because he not only directed, but he choreographed and costumed it, and basically was all the brain behind this production. Moving on.
My goodness. He's the old brain behind a new brain. Awesome. Well, welcome. And Richard, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Richard Payton, and I play Gordon Schwinn in The New Brain, and it's a role I've loved for a very, very long time. I'd also like to say that Vince also drove a lot, so you can also put him on as like a caravan driver.
Amazing. Welcome. And Steve, hello.
Hi, I'm Steve DeBrune. I play the Doctor in A New Brain, and I have to say this is a show that I've loved for a long time. The music is so gorgeous, so when I was approached to be a part of it, I was real excited to get that invitation, and the show marks my debut with Ringwald and Theater Nova.
And yes, that's very exciting. Where are you normally located, Steve?
Normally, I am the artistic director and co-founder of the Dio Dining and Entertainment in Pinckney.
Which is where you're streaming from right now, correct?
Where I'm sitting, yes.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. So good to have you.
Thank you.
And I didn't say at the beginning, but I'm Brandy Jo Planback. Hello. I'm a part of the Ringwald Theater in Ferndale. And so I want to know, how did this production come to be? Vince, can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. So in the dark ages of the pandemic, the meat and potatoes of the horrible last year and a half that we were all experiencing, you and I have done a lot virtually. We discovered that we could do things like we hadn't ever done them before in our careers in the theater, with some very, we started with our little baby steps, our Zoom little plays with the Golden Girls and the Facts of Life. And then we said, let's try something new. And we did a full feature, an hour's full for me, okay? We did a full feature parody of Misery, and we met some very talented.
So good.
It was very good, yes.
We had a good time.
Thank you.
Along that journey, we made some very amazing connections that showed me, and I'm sure you as well, Brandy Jo, very different ways that you can do things as far as like filming and getting this medium to a bigger audience. And that person is Jake Turner. And on the high of that kind of thing, I knew that I wanted to do a show that we've talked about doing at the Ringwald a million times before, that might need a little bit of a broader audience, that might need a little to be marketed in a different way, because it's, not incredibly well known, even though it has some very powerful people behind it and stuff. And I thought A New Brain would be the perfect kind of vehicle for some synergy of bringing some of the theater and the community together. So at the very beginning of it, it was trying to find a way to still perform, doing what we love, reaching out a fun new show that didn't have anything to do with the pandemic to a broader audience, and something that we could work with our friends. We at the Ringwald had just closed our doors after 14 years in our physical space, and we knew that strategic partnership was going to be the only thing that was going to get us through the rest of the pandemic until we found a new space, if we find a new space, like all those kind of things. And when I think strategic partnership, I think Diane Hill. And obviously it's a role that is perfect for her. It is a show that can speak to the mission of Theater Nova. So I got on the horn, and we started talking. And there was a few times when it didn't seem like it was going to work out from my perspective, but Diane is not a person that you like say, I don't think it's going to work out, and no to. And she figured it out. She figured out the nuts and bolts of making that happen.
Awesome. Diane, do you have anything to add to the story of this show's creation?
Yeah, I have a different slant on this. First of all, Richard and I have been in a trivia group since the pandemic began. And sorry, Richard, I'm going to out you on this one, but he leaked it to me one time in a trivia thing. He was like, has Vince called you? And I'm like, no, I haven't heard from Vince in a long time. And so he said, yeah, well, he's talking about a new brain with me and you. And I was like, oh, right, Richard, you remember that? I was like, oh my God, I love that show so much. I would love to do that. And then I never heard anything. Never.
Well, a couple of weeks. That is very true. I very often will run ideas past Richard long before. Richard is a very good gestation sounding board for me, as well as his partner, Christopher, who I respect the utmost. So when I have an idea, before I take it to the masses, I tend to talk to Richard about it. And
Nice.
and I've only directed one other musical before in my life, and it was Company, and it also starred Richard and Diane. So I only understand how to do musicals if it's Diane.
That's cool. So that gave me a huge impetus to, well, then I was in Florida and Vince called me and said, you want to do this? And I said, sure, we can do it at Theater Nova. I just have to check out with Carla and David, and they were fully behind it. Vince, at the time when he talked to me, talked about them already kind of having had the conversation with Concord Theatricals about the digital rights. And so he was telling me his whole concept, and he was even, starting to cast it and everything. But when I went to apply for the rights, I found a different story. And in the end, Vince told me, just talk to people. And I just talked to people on the phone. I told them what Vince's concept was. And they said, just write it all up and tell us exactly how you will handle the tickets, because they want to be very careful that this stuff doesn't just go out on YouTube and just doesn't get out to the masses without any control. So yeah. I researched how we could possibly get this out there, and it's a company called ShowShare, and they have tight reins on everything, and they tell you that Broadway On Demand is someone that they work with. And I had seen some Broadway On Demand things. And so I thought, yeah, I could handle that. So I wrote up a big proposal to them, and that was cool. They sent us the contract, but we didn't get it for a while, right, Vince?
Oh, God, a while, yeah. And then the material
took a while to get it. But then when I got it, I'm reading through it, and then I get to this place that says, this is what you started talking about, Steve, in an earlier conversation. It said something about how, yes, you have the digital rights, but it has to be one take. And that means that you're basically filming your production that would happen in front of an audience. But for our audience that is listening right now, Vince's whole concept was that we need to be doing this in small groups because of COVID, which we ended up doing. So when I saw that in the contract, I just got on the phone right away and talked to somebody at Concord Theatricals. And I just said, look, we're going to make a film that is going to be done from the vantage point that an audience basically would see. We're not going to take it out. We're not going to take it outside or to other buildings or anything. We're going to do it all in Theater Nova. And we're going to have a one set, and we're going to do it as if the audience were there, but we have to do it in pieces in order to do it safely. And the person that I spoke to said, "Oh, sure, no problem." So
Yeah, I think that all of that really speaks to just the flexibility of us trying to figure this out. Virtual, the Ringwald, we're writing our own stuff. We have a lot of control. We call the shots. Another one of our cast members, Jamie Richard, had reached out to Concord months before Diane and I spoke about doing a concert version of this to stream, and they said no. Weeks later, I call them, they say sure. Weeks later, Diane calls them, they say okay, but the contract is, so everything is in flux. And I think, Concord Theatrical wants us to be able to produce shows. They want us to be able to hire actors. They want us to get this work out there, but virtual comes with a whole bunch of intellectual property law that we as professionals, we do the show for one night and it's gone and it's in the ether and it disappears. But virtual brings along a whole other set of rules and regulations, and figuring those out was difficult and fun and interesting, and the flexibility, not only from all the cast members, but from the people a little bit higher up, has been, nice that we've been able to do this.
And then I would like to say just one more thing. Sorry, Brandy Jo.
No, please go ahead.
When I talked to Vince the first time, I was like, "Yeah, we can do this. Do you have Jake?"
Yeah.
And if you have Jake, then yes, we will do this because we need Jake. I had seen Misery and it was amazing. And Vince had told me that Jake had built that set and he had been the cinematographer and he did all the editing. And I'm like, I know any project that I do that has Vince involved, he is going to put his entire heart and soul into it. So I knew that we had that, but I also knew we needed the technical end of it. And then of course, knowing that we had Richard was huge too. And then, with those three pieces besides myself and my theater space, I was all in.
Yeah, and Jake, I mean, he is just a force. We couldn't have done Have Yourself a Misery Little Christmas without him. He is super duper talented, which brings me to my next question, which is like, who else is involved in this? We have a very small handful of the talent involved in this show with us right now.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, can you touch base on who else is involved and how they are a part of the show?
Absolutely. I think I can start with just like a little brief kind of overview and again, not to talk about COVID in a positive way. It's an absolute terrible thing that has brought so much unhappiness. But in a real like lemonade's lemon situation, I knew that I wanted to work with some new people that I hadn't worked with before, and I wanted to work with people that I might not get the chance to work with before. So early on in the process, when Diane and I were talking about casting, community was such an important thing for me. It's maybe not a theme of the show, but for what we were creating, I wanted to look across Southeast Michigan for the people who I respect and I hear about a lot and that I have seen their work and having had a chance to work with them. Running your own theater, as Joe can tell you, I don't run my own theater, but from someone who does, your schedule is planned in advance. If you want to do a show, you gotta figure that on your own time. Here's everybody, a whole bunch of talented people sitting around kind of waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. And I thought, let me be that person. Let me see if I can get a Steve DeBrune, who is, a legend and icon. He is the moment. And when would he have had the opportunity to drive to Ferndale or Ann Arbor or anywhere else when he's literally running his own theater? So let's get frickin' Steve in there. Let's get Jason Briggs, who plays the male nurse. He is out at Flint Rep creating amazing dynamic new theater. They're this fun new company that's got a great little following in such an amount of time. Let's get him in here. Okay, he's available because we're in the middle of a world global pandemic. You've got Richard Payton, obviously, a performer who a professional, consummate professional, Ariel Crosby, just talent coming out of every pore in her body. She is booked and blessed. I mean, this girl, a week after we wrapped, she's on a plane to California because they love and respect her out there. She's doing amazing work out there. So again, we had the opportunity to grab her. Let's do it. So we have Ariel Crosby, a Elena Kerr, not to be confused with anybody else, is somebody who Diane has worked with and brought me along. I've seen her.
And Steve as well.
Oh,
Steve's
sure, yeah, Steve's worked it there. Seen her on many a karaoke stage, little powerhouse, tons of personality. She's fantastic. Of course, we talked about Steve. We have Richard Payton, so like, period, end of story. Diane Hill. I am also in the show. And then someone who is not really akin to social media, Elizabeth Schultz, a titan of the community theater world. She is a dear friend of mine, known her for 20 years, godfather to her children. We haven't worked with each other in this capacity since we did Brigadoon in the year of our Lord 2007. So like, what a fun opportunity for us to get together. And the grandfather of the production, Jamie Richards, who was not grandfather in age, but he was one of the first people that I cast, because to me, this show at this time and about the themes that it's about is Jamie Richards. He is one of the first people I remember geeking out about the show. And in my little Frasier, I grew up in Frasier and, you know, over there, and I heard about A New Brain, and I was like, I'm the only person who knows about this show because it's so niche and culty. And I thought I was the only person who knew, and Jamie and I would talk about it and get excited about it and stuff. So he was such a driving force behind it as well. So that's the cast.
And tell us a little bit about some of the people behind the scenes. We talked about Jake, but Diane, who are some of the other people involved that helped out get this on its feet?
Interesting stories about a lot of them. Vince and I were trying to save money, so we were thinking we were going to go without a stage manager. So I don't know, maybe a month before we started shooting, we're like, oh my God, we need a stage manager. So one of my favorite stage manager in the entire world, Brianna O'Neill, Bree, came on board, and she saved our life in many, many ways. And then also we, I think, I don't know how Dan Morrison kind of fell into our laps, and he ended up designing the lights. And oh my gosh, talk about being all in. And he and Bree would meet, and he met with Steve's Matt, right? Am I right, Steve? Didn't Matt from the Dio help Dan Morrison get set up in our theater? And he was there every minute of every day, every shoot, along with Jake and Bree. And then there was you, Brandy Jo, who came in and did some filming for us. And it was extremely helpful. And you're so grounded and so just kind and lovely to work with. And I will say that about everyone who was working on this show. But we would be very much amiss not mentioning our music director, Ryan Mackenzie Lewis, because he did a month of Zoom rehearsals with us. It was kind of difficult because this show has a lot of music, a lot of ensemble music, a lot of 4 parts, 5 parts, sometimes 7 parts. We had 9 people in the cast. Sometimes there were even more, and so we started in March. I mean, there was no way we could meet in person, and so we were all there, all 10 of us on a Zoom, and Ryan would plunk out the parts, and everyone would just record their own parts. And then later on in the process, we would schedule individual appointments with Ryan, or sometimes duo appointments with Ryan, and he already had the tracks ready. So like for my rehearsal with Ryan, I would play the track on my end and I would sing to it, and then he would critique it. But then I had one rehearsal with Richard, who I do a couple songs with, and we would take turns. I would sing my part while Richard was singing on mute, because you can't do this at the same time. Music doesn't work that way. And that's what maybe some people who haven't really tried it don't get. And was one of the hurdles we had, actually, to try to get our fabulous music director named Ryan Mackenzie Lewis, because he was like, oh, how do we do that? And Vince had some ideas for him. So, again, everyone was wonderful. Am I missing anyone, you guys? Did I miss anyone behind the scenes?
I think that's it. Yeah. And of course, Jake Turner being the linchpin of the production. He's a true jack of all trades, and talk about calming. I mean, he is just so amiable and fantastic.
And it's his set design too, right?
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That design, camera work, technical things, just really so a Jake of all trades.
Always so
Oh,
yeah, all trades. That's excellent.
And kind as all get out.
Kind.
yeah.
So we had a question come in, and I'm gonna throw this kind of to Richard, who's been sitting so patiently. This comes from our good friend Ashley, and she says, "My question is, Vince and Richard, you both have been in countless productions together. What was it like to finally reunite and be back on stage playing off each other?"
Oh, I mean, so
I
number
did tell
one,
Ashley to ask a question, but I told her not to make it about me. So I love her. I love her.
so not only have I not been able to make theater with Vince, but he hasn't even like been in the same state
Yeah.
for so long. So having such a dear friend, not only back on stage to work with, but also back like here to I have as a friend, was just so special. And Vince and I always have so much fun working together, and no matter how much stress we're under, because we're both moving at the same time as we're putting this together, and he's just such a rock that we could always.
We can always come back to
lost my
center. I think
metaphor.
that there is, yeah. We have so many things going in each other's lives and our lives, and there's a lot of plates spinning. And I feel Richard is such a calming force that I realize like we could even between each other have a few words. 2 minutes later, everything's going to be fine. And I think that is such a comfortable place to act from. It was funny. I was talking to someone in this production, Richard and I are playing lovers, and in all the things that we have done together, I was saying, oh my God, we've never played opposite, and we've never had to kiss, and we have to do all this stuff. And then somebody was like, do you remember that show that you and Richard did together, The Hungman? And I was like, what? Played opposite each other, and I believe we had to kiss or something like that, which probably was the actual first time, but
I don't think we kissed. I think we played at each other in that show.
I kissed Krista Coulter, Lark.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gay, so that's weird.
Yeah. I blame creative for that one.
In the house.
Well, Steve, you've been sitting so patiently as well, and so I'm going to sort of have you start this question off. I know you've done a lot of virtual cabarets and things with the Dio. You've kept very active. Everyone in here has been involved in some sort of virtual production throughout this pandemic. But how has filming this particular production been different than some of the other virtual things you've done? And what were some of the highlights of doing it this way?
Oh, this was definitely a unique experience. As Diane mentioned, kind of filming this in stages so that we were still staying distant from each other and we didn't have unnecessary people in the room when things were being shot. It was definitely a new experience. It meant that we had to shoot scenes out of order. So you're working on scenes, sometimes you're at the end of the show, but it's your second day of filming, I remember on the last day, we were filming the musical number "And They're Off," which is one of my favorite songs in the whole show. And I was just kind of being a smart ass, and we're all sitting there in the seats, and I'm like, why isn't Vince in this number? Like, what's Vince doing right now? And Richard turns around, he's like, his character hasn't been introduced in the show yet. I'm like, our last day of filming, the last scene, we're filming a scene that Vince's character isn't even in the show yet. So it was definitely unique. And it was, I think there were some challenges. I think the most challenging thing was the music rehearsal and not being able to hear the other voices while you're trying to figure out where your voice fits in these really intricate and tight harmonies. It was tough. And I think it took a lot of effort on each cast member's part to put in the work, put in the time, outside of the actual scheduled rehearsals. So, it took a lot of hard work and dedication, and I think it shows.
I mean, I gotta tell you guys, I wasn't a part of the rehearsal process at all. I came in once things were being filmed, and you all sound incredible. The show sounds so amazing. It looks great, but like to know how the rehearsal process went, and then to be there in front of you experiencing how you sound was just mind-blowing. It's incredible. It's like you were in person for months. It sounds so incredibly good. All the voices are amazing, and it's just really, it's a very exciting production. And you're right, Steve, it's very much filmed like you would a film, which is often out of order, you know, when people can get together and everything like that. But when people experience it, it's going to be as if you're sitting at Theater Nova watching this production happen in front of you. So that's very exciting. And you know, it, I'm sure, was a challenge. It had to have been for all of you. What were some of the highlights of filming this, either, you know, throughout the rehearsal process, the filming process? What are some things that stand out to you?
Well, there was a wonderful scene where just to give a little spoiler, a new brain is because the character Gordon has a little problem in his brain, and so there's a scene right at the beginning where he gets affected by that, and he ends up with his face planted in a plate full of ziti, and so getting to do that multiple times, and hold with, you know, it's just, it was fun. And then there was that one scene where we had to keep filming it, and then someone struck the table, and there was nothing for Steve to wipe my face off, and it's just gone, and like my face is just covered in tomato sauce, and Steve's like, sorry.
But Richard, you bring up a good point, and I'm sorry I didn't ask this earlier. Can you give us just the briefest overview, even though you kind of just did, of what this show is all about? What does A New Brain entail?
Yeah, all right. So Gordon Schwinn is a composer, and we start out seeing him composing and going off to meet his friend and co-worker for a little meeting at a restaurant, and he has this moment where something goes wrong in his head, and he goes unconscious. And the show's essentially about him going to the hospital and what goes on kind of inside of his head while he deals with the realities of mortality, essentially, and what he goes through in the hospital, interacting with family members, his mother, his lover, the staff, and then flights of fancy that go on inside of his head that all culminate in a realization, you know, take life for the joy that it is right now. That's the lesson that I think he comes out with at the end, and I hope that everyone takes with them after they've
Wow,
watched
you
it.
did that really well, Richard. I'm so
You read
happy.
the prep questions.
Yeah. I also want to add that the entire show is sung.
Yeah, it's an operetta. Yeah, I would say, just to piggyback on that highlight question, if I can speak to like some more headier sort of themes, is exciting things for me. Obviously, there was super fun in the moment things that kind of happen, but for me in the theater and not a film actor, there's two things for me that I like the most. The one was thinking something in my head, Jake's head, in our collective heads, and then seeing it actually work. In a long rehearsal process, there is a lot of trial and error that you can figure out. Filming is like doing a show every single night. Even though you can stop and start over, you can't do that forever. You know, we had specific times people had to get home by 10:30 or whatever. So we would think of something, really hope that it would work out, and then it would work. And it was such an instant gratification, like getting that laugh from the audience or something like that. It was really, really great to think it and then see it actually happen. And I thought that was like a unique kind of film experience. And in that vein, the second thing would be the trust from the cast. I think, like, I've worked with Diane. I know she likes to work. She is a consummate professional and like a prepared actress. And in this situation, we're blocking, and then 2 minutes later we're filming that scene and it's going in the can, and there it will live, for as long as time exists. So the amount of trust that everybody in the cast had in me and to an extent Jake, to say, it's good, you're doing good. We had to be like their audience, the cheerleader, the like all of that kind of into one. And I know that that's not how we work as actors. So for everybody to come in and try it, and then I would come up and say, make this little adjustment. Okay, make this little adjustment. Okay, make this little adjustment. It's good, we got it, we're moving on. And I thought that was super nice. I think I was prepared maybe for more, not pushback, but more convincing people. But everyone was in it from like day one, and they were like, okay, this is how we're doing it. We're filming a show.
I gotta say, my resume says actor singer, and nowhere on it does it mention dancing. And then there's this there's this moment where Vince is like, all right, and now we're gonna learn the tango for this number and film it. And then normally I like to go home and practice and come up with
Right.
something worthy for the stage. But there was not that opportunity. So I'm really anxious to see what that turned out like.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was there that day and you did fantastic.
Okay.
Any other highlights that anyone would like to touch on?
Yeah, I'd say one of my highlights was that sing through that we did. When we were all sitting in there with our masks on, but some of those pieces, when we got that wall of sound, I have to say, like hearing Jason Briggs do a couple of his numbers the first time, and Ariel, I mean, everyone was really great. But when we all sang together, and Ariel was suddenly there because she hadn't been at a couple of the music rehearsals, I was knocked out by how we sound, like similar to how I felt when I saw Hamilton the first time, and that wall of sound comes at you.
Yeah.
In our little theater of Theater Nova, that's what it felt like, was this wall of really amazing sound. And like someone said, that the harmonies are intricate and close, and we had 9 very strong singers just wailing, and that was a real thrill.
And I think what that really speaks to is that first day was, did it work or did it not? We had been working for a month on Zoom, and we had been doing some unprecedented, unconventional kind of things, and it was either going to work or it wasn't going to work. And Diane and I knew after that rehearsal, it worked. We did it. Was it perfect? Obviously not. It never would have been, but it meant we cast the right people, that we had the professionals who were doing the time outside of their allotted rehearsal time. That had happened. And the second thing was, we're going to be able to do this. The whole last month of Zoom and noise issues and carving away the time, it was worth it.
And for me, the film aspect of filming a musical, that was all new. And like Vince said, I'm someone who likes to come in prepared, and then I like to have 3 weeks of rehearsals to really grow into it. Yes.
Yeah.
But like I have this one song where I have to handle about, I think it was 43 books, and I'm doing stuff with these books. So the day before we did it, and I kept saying to Vince, so are we going to block that earlier so that I can like practice it? And so the day before, he just said, yeah, you're going to cross here, and then you're going to go here. And then okay. So that day, I went to my basement. I got all my books. I got the trash can. I got the light in my purse, and I practiced it. And I figured out exactly when I'm going to throw a book, when I'm going to place a book, when I'm going to open a book, how I'm going to hold everything. Because I was terrified that, we were going to have to do this a million times, and you have to have continuity too. So I knew that I had to be doing the same thing every single time. So I was pretty scared about that piece. And
then she did it. She only did it twice, and I cried. So I think it worked out.
You cried. I hope for the right reasons, though. So yeah, it's scary. It's scary to get blocked and then shoot in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have done a lot of film, but I've never done a musical filmed, So doing regular film is like rolling out of bed compared to what we were doing. Yeah.
So things are really changing in the world. Like Broadway is getting ready to come back. I know that things are shifting in a good way. We're probably never going to be back to fully normal, but we're getting to a sense of where we used to be. So I'm really curious in regards to what's happening with some of the spaces that are represented in these squares here today. Steve, what can you share about what is coming up with the Dio? Can you share anything? Do you have any news?
Well, there's not a ton to share. It's definitely coming to the Dio is going to be a new experience. We're a dinner theater, so I feel like the days of lines of people waiting to serve themselves from the same food containers, they're gone. So we're rethinking and reworking. I can say pretty confidently that we will reopen this year. It's just a matter of when this year, but we'll be back. So we're a work in progress until then.
Well, that's awesome, though. I know everyone is super excited. The Dio is a mainstay in our community, and we cannot wait to have you back.
Thank you.
Diane, what about Theater Nova? What can you share there?
Oh, yeah. Well, we were working on possibly a fundraiser musical that we would do outside, but things have gotten so much better that we are actually thinking about opening in September with one of the shows. There were 3 shows that our subscribers didn't get from our season. So we're thinking about actually opening in September and then doing the musical fundraiser that we were talking about in the theater, and then doing our holiday panto as usual. And we're planning an entire season now. We've got, like I said, 3 out of the 7 that we owe our subscribers. And then we've got the other 4 pretty planned out right now. So it's pretty exciting. But what has changed? Like, I'm not into spending a whole lot of money on making a big, huge season brochure the way we always have. I've now lost trust. You know, we don't know where this is going to go. So I can't spend a couple $1,000s doing a brochure and mailing it out. When COVID happened, we were just about to tech a show called Arabic to English, and we shut it down. But silly me, I changed everyone's tickets to August that year. That's how we thought things were going to go in March. We thought, okay, well, if we postpone it, for 4 months, we should be okay. So I went through all of that, all those actions of changing everyone's tickets. And then, of course, we had to cancel everything, and we cancel. But no, I think we're hoping to be back on track. We don't know what the rules will be for us. Will it be a totally we know we're committed to saying everyone who works on the shows will be totally vaccinated, though.
Awesome. And Vince, I know you touched on the Ringwald having closed our doors. Can you share any news there?
Yeah, first, if you don't mind, I will also just represent, I know Jason Briggs isn't on this call, but I mentioned earlier, Flint Rep is another theater who had a part in our production because of Jason's involvement, and he gave us some props as well. So we thank them for that. They have some stuff coming up on June 5th, actually very same weekend as A New Brain. They're doing a little piece about Flint and the murals in their spaces. So if you want to go there, and they also have an outdoor production of Songs for a New World by Jason Robert Brown, which is going up at the end of July. So check out Flint Repertory Theater for some fun things that they have planned throughout the summer. And I'm sure they'll have some other big announcements later on. But as far as the Ringwald is concerned, we're still doing it, Joe? We're doing the Ringwald still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this week, we're going to have some substantial announcements. I know I love a vague book, and I love saying watch this space, to tease, but it's substantial. The things that we have coming up are changing the culture for us as an organization, and hopefully the culture of our beloved city of Ferndale. So please follow along with us, because we may have been down, but we're certainly not out.
Well, I'm excited to hear all about this.
I know, me too.
All right, so we touched on it earlier about how people can watch this. I know you mentioned they can watch it on Broadway On Demand. I did a production with Tipping Point last December called Hate Mail that was done that way. It was a very cool process to watch it. So, Diane, can you touch on and tell people how they can watch A New Brain and what the dates are and how they go about getting tickets?
Absolutely. And that production that you were in, Brandy Jo, is what inspired me to go ahead with this, because I had seen and I saw how it worked, and I saw that after you register your name and you sign in, that you can see, I think you see the playbill that way, the program that way. I can't remember now. But anyway, as far as we go, for A New Brain, please go to www.theaternova.org, and that's theater spelled the right way, THEATRE, Nova, NOVA.org. and you will find how to, you just click on that link and it will take you to Broadway On Demand, and then you choose which weekend. It's showing for 3 weekends starting on June 5th. And now here's a secret that only people who are going to see this will know. We paid for the royalties for June 5th, June 6th, and then the next 2 Saturdays and Sundays. But with ShowShare, if you buy a June 5th ticket, you're actually going to be able to see it anytime all the way through 11:59 on June 6th. If you buy a June 6th ticket, it's the same thing. That will turn off at 11:59. Okay, so that's how it works. And the tickets are $25 a person, and my sister said something about how you have to register twice to buy 2 tickets, and I don't think that's the case. I think you register once and can buy
Just calling your sister a liar here, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first.
So, but once you register and you buy your ticket, then you're going to go back right to that exact same site and put in the code that you receive. You'll get a code, and it's really quite easy. And even if you like get super hungry and you have to leave, and you can come back and watch it again. Like for Brandy Jo's show, I watched. That day I was on my elliptical. I watched a bit of every single cast because they did the show a whole bunch of different combinations. And so I find that is a very generous way for us to be able to watch this show too. So if there's a musical scene that you love, and there will be many, you can actually go back and watch it again. This ticket isn't going to disappear on you until 11:59 on that Sunday night. Was that clear enough to everyone?
So the 5th and 6th, the 12th and 13th, and then the 19th and 20th, those are the 3 weekends, correct?
Exactly.
So it's so nice because some streaming productions, like they would start at 7 o'clock and you would have to be watching it there and then,
right.
or you miss out. So this is really great that like you have that flexibility to pause it, to go to the bathroom, to take a break, to watch it in chunks if you want, to go back and watch. So
but we encourage people to encourage other people in their families, in their family circle, their friend circle, all around the world to buy tickets, because this will benefit both the Ringwald and Theater Nova. Once we pay for our bills, we are splitting the proceeds 50-50 with these 2 theaters. So we need you.
Yeah, I mean, in that vein, and I shoot me if I'm wrong, Brandy Jo, but in a closing sort of style, I would just like to say that I understand it's so exciting. We're back open. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of the pandemic, but we filmed this show 4 months ago, so the pandemic was still super real. So I think I've heard some people say, maybe in social media, Facebook, maybe somebody in particular, I'm not going to say their name, that like I'm kind of over virtual theater and I'm excited to get back out and see what's out there. Well, number one, we filmed it very much in a COVID a real place, and it just takes time to get to this point. So please, virtual theater is still a great way to view theater. I would hope that every theater represented in this room will think about the virtual audience that we were able to create with our kitchen cabarets and our new works play festivals and all that stuff, and see how we can make virtual happen in a live time, whether it's just simulcast or something like that. There's people from all over the country and all over the world who are able to watch this show. So I think that that's so special, even though you want to go sit outside. So you can rent the show, get your projector, blow it up in your backyard, and like sit in the beautiful outside with your friends and family and enjoy and share the show. Because at the end of the day, you're just supporting the theater. If you have 45 people come over your house and you're paying for 1 ticket, even though you can do that, it's we're all here because we've had a tough year just like you have, and we're just trying to pay our bills so that we can welcome you back into our doors. And that's all.
Yeah, and it's a movie. Everyone's talking about, oh, I went to the movies. I went back to the movies. This is a movie, and you can watch it on any of your devices. So,
yeah, it's just like Cruella on Disney Plus. It's like literally the same.
Yeah,
like it's just the same.
Exactly.
Well, I love it. Any other closing thoughts that anyone might have? I'm super excited to watch it. That's all I got to say. You guys are all amazing. Really appreciate your time. And anybody out there watching us at this moment, sharing this, whatever, thank you so much. We're so excited to bring this to you. And again, thank you all so much for joining us today, my lovely, esteemed, talented panel. And look forward to seeing you in less than a week on the big screen in my,
Or the small
in my
screen.
living room.
You can watch it on your Apple Watch.
It could be a little screen. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.